At 6:07, the car was still warm from traffic. The driveway held its usual quiet, gray in the evening light, close enough to the house that the refrigerator hum seemed to reach through the walls. On the passenger seat, a half-folded towel lay across a stack of papers, soft at one edge, unfinished at the other. The nonprofit director sat there as a parent now, no longer answering names in a meeting room, no longer holding the shape of everyone else's need. The phone lit once. Then it was turned face down. Nothing happened after that. Only the shoulders lowering. Only the small sound of breath returning to a body that had been useful all day. The towel waited without judgment. Half done was still care. Half done was still home. And for a moment, being tired did not feel like failing. The first minutes in a driveway can feel smaller than the rest of the day, but sometimes they hold more truth than the hours before them. The car engine had been turned off, but the heat stayed in the dashboard. A little traffic noise still seemed to live inside the tires, inside the palms, inside the back of the neck. The nonprofit director sat with one hand resting near the gearshift, not gripping it anymore, only touching the edge of it, as if the day had not fully released its hold. There had been too many voices. Not loud voices, necessarily. Some were kind. Some were worried. Some belonged to people who needed funding decisions, staffing answers, calendar changes, a sentence of reassurance before the next hard thing. There had been a bored email, a parent text, a missed call from someone who always sounded calm until the end of the message. There had been the quiet work of appearing steady. Now the phone was face down. Its dark back showed nothing. No name. No preview. No little red number asking for the next piece of a person. It simply lay there beside the cup holder, no longer shining upward like a small demand. In the passenger seat, the half-folded towel had slid a little during the drive and rested partly over the edge of a manila folder. The towel was not supposed to be in the car. It had been carried out that morning with a lunch bag, a laptop tote, and a pile of things meant to go back inside later. Maybe it had come from a laundry basket near the hallway. Maybe it had been picked up in the small hurry of leaving, folded once, then forgotten when someone called from another room. One corner was tucked in neatly. The other side opened loose, soft, unfinished. It looked like the house had reached the car first. Through the closed windows, the evening was ordinary. A neighbor's garage door lowered 2 houses down. A dog barked once, then stopped. Somewhere inside the house, past the front door and the kitchen light, the refrigerator kept its steady hum. It was faint from the driveway, almost imagined, but familiar enough for the body to know it. That sound had no agenda. It did not care whether the day had gone well. It did not know whether the grant report had been sent, whether the staff meeting had ended with everyone feeling heard, whether dinner would be on time, whether the towel would ever become a proper rectangle. It simply kept going in the background, holding the milk, the leftovers, the ordinary cold. The director looked at the towel for a long moment. There was something honest about it. Half folded. Still useful. Not ruined by being unfinished. It had already done what a towel does. It had dried someone's hands, caught water from a counter, been washed, warmed, carried, left behind. Its care did not disappear because the last fold had not happened yet. The shoulders lowered a little more. Inside the house, someone might soon call out. A child might ask what was for dinner before the door was even closed. There might be shoes near the entryway, mail on the counter, a backpack leaning open with papers curling from the top. There might be a question waiting in the kitchen, or a small complaint, or the soft relief of being seen. But not yet. For this small stretch, no one was asking the director to be generous, wise, patient, available, or clear. No one could see the pause. No one could praise it, interrupt it, or make it into a story about strength. It belonged to the edge of the driveway, to the dim windshield, to the phone lying silent, to the towel with one fold missing. There was no audience for the effort. And maybe that was why it could finally soften. The day had asked for so much composure. Not perfection exactly, but something close to it. A tone that did not shake. A face that stayed open. A mind that could hold numbers and people at the same time. Even the drive home had required attention. Brake lights, merging lanes, a turn signal left blinking longer than it needed to, the slow relief when the familiar street appeared. Now all of that began to leave the body. Not all at once. Never all at once. More like traffic clearing from a road after everyone has already gone home. A small space appears first. Then another. Then the breath finds a little room between the ribs. The towel remained half folded. And in that unfinished softness, there was a small blessing no one had to name. The blessing was not that everything was handled. It was not that the evening would be easy. It was only this: care could be incomplete and still be real. A tired person could sit in the car a little longer. And nothing about that made the love smaller. The house was only a few steps away, but distance is not always measured by sidewalks or driveway cracks. Sometimes it is measured by how long a hand stays on the door handle before opening it. Sometimes by how much quiet a person needs before becoming someone's mother again, someone's father again, someone's answer, someone's safe place, someone's steady voice in the kitchen. The nonprofit director did not move yet. The phone stayed face down near the console, a small dark rectangle with the whole world waiting under it. There were messages inside it. There were people who would probably understand a delayed reply and people who might not. There were reminders, names, little threads of duty that could pull a person back out of the driveway and into the long hallway of other people's needs. But the screen was hidden. That mattered more than it seemed. Across the passenger seat, the half-folded towel kept its quiet shape. It had a crease through the middle where the fold had begun, then stopped. Not abandoned exactly. Only paused. There was a difference, even if no one usually stopped long enough to notice it. A paused thing is not a failed thing. The towel looked soft in the low light coming through the windshield. It held some faint memory of the dryer, though the warmth had mostly gone out of it. A corner lifted slightly where the fabric had not been smoothed down. There was nothing impressive about it. Nothing that would make anyone stop at the doorway and say, "There, look at that." And still, it held the whole feeling of the evening. A life can be full of unfinished folds. The laundry basket waiting somewhere inside. The dinner that may have to become something simple. The email that would not be answered tonight, or maybe would be answered too late. The child's paper needing a signature. The sink with its ordinary few dishes. The calendar square with too many small marks crowded into it. None of it was dramatic. That was part of the weight. A person can get through an entire day without anything terrible happening and still arrive home carrying more than the body knows where to put. Meetings can go fine. The commute can be normal. The house can be safe. The family can be loved. And still, there can be a silence in the parked car that feels almost necessary before the next door opens. The refrigerator hummed from inside the house. It was not loud enough to hear clearly through the walls, but the director knew that sound. It was part of the household background, the sound underneath homework, takeout containers, late cups of water, grocery bags, and someone looking into the fridge without knowing what they wanted. It was the sound of ordinary keeping. Cold air holding what needed to last. The towel had been washed. Folded halfway. Carried along. Left within reach. A small piece of care, interrupted. There was comfort in that. Not the kind of comfort that arrives with a clean room or a finished list. More like the comfort of seeing evidence that care had been moving through the house even when no one had spoken about it. Hands had gathered fabric. Someone had meant to put it away. Life had continued in its uneven way. The director breathed out. The shoulders dropped, then stopped dropping, as if they had found the first place they could rest. The seat held the body without asking for an explanation. The steering wheel held the last warmth from the hands. Evening gathered in the mirrors. No one saw this part. No one saw the small decision not to pick the phone back up. No one saw the way the eyes stayed on the towel until the mind slowed a little. No one saw the effort it took not to turn tiredness into blame. The pause had no witness, and maybe that made it more honest. Inside the house, life would start again. The door would open. Shoes would cross the entryway. Someone might call from another room. The director might lift the towel with the same hand that had signed documents, held coffee, answered texts at red lights, and pressed against a tired forehead for one brief second in an office bathroom. The towel would still need folding. But not as proof. Not as a test of whether the evening had been handled well. Only as a towel. Only as fabric. Only as one small unfinished thing waiting in a house where people were still being cared for, even imperfectly. After another breath, the director reached for the car door. Not quickly. The handle clicked softly. Cool air entered. The phone stayed where it was, face down. The towel waited on the seat, half folded and gentle, as if it already knew that coming home does not have to begin with being ready. Sometimes it begins with being tired. And opening the door anyway, slowly. There are moments when the whole house seems to wait behind a closed door. Not impatiently. Not with blame. Just there, breathing its familiar sounds through the walls, through the small seams of evening. The refrigerator kept humming somewhere beyond the kitchen, steady as a low voice no one had to answer. It was the kind of sound a person stops hearing until the day has been loud enough. Then it comes back. The director stayed with one foot still inside the car, one hand resting near the door frame. The cool air from the driveway touched the wrist. The phone remained face down, left behind on the console for a few more seconds, as if the dark screen could keep a little circle of quiet around it. The towel was still on the seat. Half folded, half loose, lying across the passenger side as though it had its own small patience. The unfinished edge did not argue with the neat crease. They belonged to the same piece of fabric. One side gathered. One side open. One side showing effort. One side showing where the effort had stopped. It was not a failure. It was just where the hands had ended. The director looked at it and felt, without saying it, how much of the day had been shaped like that towel. Meetings begun with care and left with loose edges. Conversations held as well as possible, not perfectly. A decision made after listening to 3 different worries. A child's morning question answered while searching for keys. A lunch eaten too quickly, standing near a desk. A kind sentence offered when the mind was already tired. So many things half folded. Still, they had been real. The evening light settled across the dashboard. It made the dust visible for a moment, a faint layer along the vent, the ordinary proof that nothing in a life stays perfectly kept. A receipt had slipped near the floor mat. A water bottle rolled softly when the director shifted. The car smelled faintly of coffee, fabric, and warm vinyl. The day was leaving slowly. Not because anyone commanded it to leave. Not because peace arrived all at once. More because the body had found a place where no one was watching it perform steadiness. The shoulders had lowered. The jaw had unclenched a little. The hand on the door frame had stopped holding so tightly. That was enough for this minute. Inside, there would be lights. Maybe a small voice from another room. Maybe the sound of a drawer opening, or the scrape of a chair leg, or someone asking whether the laundry had been moved. There would be the ordinary needs of home, the kind that do not know they are arriving after a person has already given so much away. But the towel did not need anything yet. It only rested there, keeping the shape of interrupted care. It was clean. It was useful. It had not become less worthy because one fold was missing. The director could see that more easily in fabric than in a body. A body gets tired and calls it weakness. A towel stops halfway and simply remains a towel. The thought passed through quietly, almost without words. The director did not try to make it important. There was no need to turn it into a phrase that could be remembered later. It was only the small mercy of looking at something unfinished and not feeling the old rush to fix it immediately. The refrigerator hummed on. Somewhere past the front door, the house was keeping its ordinary promises. Cold things stayed cold. The light over the stove might already be on. The floor might have a crumb near the baseboard. The mail might still be unopened. The evening might not become graceful at all. Even so, there was care here. Not the polished kind. Not the kind that photographs well. Care was in the towel that had made it this far. In the phone turned down before the next demand could enter. In the few extra breaths taken at the edge of the driveway. In the person standing between car and home, allowing tiredness to be present without treating it like evidence against them. The director finally lifted the towel. It unfolded a little in the hand, soft and uneven. For 1 second, the fabric rested against the wrist like a small answer no one had spoken. The phone stayed behind a moment longer, face down in the dim car. The door remained open. And the evening did not ask for more than that. The towel came with the director to the front step. It was not fully folded and not fully open, gathered now in one hand while the other reached back into the car for the phone. For a second, the phone was turned over by habit, almost without thought. The screen woke, bright and sudden, with its small row of waiting things. Then the thumb paused. The director turned it face down again. The motion was quiet. No announcement. No clean decision made for the rest of the night. Only one more small refusal to let the whole world enter before the body had crossed the threshold. The phone rested against the towel for a moment, dark side up, held together with the soft fabric and the tired hand. The driveway had cooled a little. Evening had settled around the parked car, around the mailbox, around the patch of grass near the walkway that needed cutting but not tonight. The street was moving on without ceremony. A car passed slowly. Somewhere a screen door clicked. The kind of sounds that make a neighborhood feel ordinary without asking to be noticed. The director stood still. Not long. Only long enough for the shoulders to remember they were allowed to fall. Only long enough for the last pieces of traffic to leave the chest. Brake lights, lane changes, the red glare of the car ahead, the held breath at an intersection, the late merging, the feeling of being one more person trying to get home. All of that thinned out. The house waited ahead. Through the wall, The refrigerator hum seemed clearer now. It had been part of so many evenings that no one inside probably noticed it. It lived under the sound of cabinets, under the running faucet, under someone looking for socks, under the little sigh a person makes when opening the fridge and seeing the same containers again. A humble sound. A kept sound. The director held the towel closer without meaning to. Its cotton edge brushed the wrist. One fold had stayed in place. The other side hung loose, making the whole towel look a little lopsided, but not wrong. It seemed to belong to the moment exactly because it was not finished. There are objects that do not accuse. A towel can be left halfway and still remain ready for hands, for spills, for a child's wet hair after a bath, for the counter after dinner, for some small domestic need that arrives without drama. It does not ask the person holding it why the fold stopped. It does not measure the day against the neatness of its corners. Maybe that was the blessing. Not a large feeling. Not happiness. Not the kind of gratitude that rises up clearly and says its own name. More like a slight easing in the hand, a little permission carried through fabric. The tiredness was there, plain and heavy. But for once it did not have to become evidence. The director did not have to defend it. There had been a time, maybe earlier in life, when tiredness felt like something that needed explaining. A person could come home exhausted and still feel the need to prove they had worked hard enough to deserve the silence. To list the calls, the meetings, the traffic, the errands, the hidden labor. To show that the fatigue had a receipt. But no one was asking now. The towel was not asking. The refrigerator was not asking. The evening air moved gently around the director's sleeves. The phone stayed dark. The front door waited with its familiar mark near the handle, the one everyone had stopped seeing years ago. A porch light came on automatically, soft and practical, not beautiful exactly, just useful in the way a household thing can be. Useful can be tender. That thought did not need to be held very tightly. It arrived and sat down somewhere inside. The director looked once more toward the car, the seat now empty except for a folder and the faint indentation where the towel had been. Then toward the house, where life was already continuing in small sounds. Someone moved inside. Not calling yet. Just moving. The pause no one noticed was almost over. It would disappear into the evening the way so many pauses do. No one would mark it. No one would know that something softened between the car door and the front step, that a phone stayed face down for a few more breaths, that a half-folded towel gave the day a gentler place to land. The director opened the door. Warm household air came out first. The refrigerator hummed steadily behind it, as if it had been there all along, keeping what could be kept. The towel rested in the director's hand. Still half-folded. Still enough, the house did not become quiet all at once. It received the director in pieces. First the key turning. Then the small push of the door. Then the shoes crossing the entryway without much sound. The half-folded towel came and tucked under one arm, still soft from its own unfinishedness, while the phone stayed face down in the other hand, carried like something that could wait. The refrigerator hum was clearer now. It lived in the kitchen the way it always had, beneath the small sounds of the evening. A cabinet hinge. The low tap of something set on the counter. A chair leg shifting lightly against the floor. No one in the house was trying to make a memory. The house was only being itself. That was part of the mercy. The director placed the phone on the counter, still face down. Not hidden. Not thrown away. Only turned from the room for a little while. Its silence made a small space around it, as if the kitchen had been given one breath before the next message could arrive. The towel stayed in the hand. A child's voice came from another room, not urgent yet. Somewhere a drawer opened and closed. The director answered softly, the kind of answer that does not carry the whole day inside it. Then there was a moment near the counter when no one needed anything directly, and the towel could finally be looked at again. Half folded. One side neat. One side loose. It had made the trip from laundry to car to driveway to kitchen without becoming what it was supposed to become. And somehow that did not make it less part of the home. It still belonged here, among the crumbs near the toaster, the magnet on the fridge, the small stack of mail, the light over the stove that made everything look a little tired and a little kind. The director laid it down. Not carefully enough to finish it. Not carelessly enough to dismiss it. Just down, across the back of a chair, where the fold held for a second and then relaxed. The day had asked for finished shapes. A finished report. A finished answer. A finished tone of voice. A finished version of patience in rooms where people were depending on someone to keep listening. Even the drive home had asked for attention to the end, the last turn, the last break, the last check for a neighbor walking a dog across the street. But the kitchen did not ask that way. The kitchen had its own ordinary patience. It let the towel rest imperfectly. It let the phone stay dark. It let the director stand for a moment with one hand on the counter, feeling the hard edge beneath the palm and the soft ache behind the shoulders. No one applauded rest. No one usually sees it beginning. Sometimes rest begins as a person not picking up the phone again. Sometimes it begins as a towel left half folded without apology. Sometimes it begins as a parent standing in the kitchen, listening to the refrigerator and realizing that the body has been waiting all day for one place where tiredness does not have to make a case for itself. The director breathed in. The air smelled faintly of cold leftovers, dish soap, and the fabric of evening clothes that had been worn too long. Outside, the driveway was almost dark now. Inside, the room held a few undone things and did not collapse under them. That was the blessing, maybe. Not that everything was fine. Not that the work was easy or the evening would be smooth. Only that home could hold a person who was not fully gathered. A towel could be half folded. A reply could wait. A parent could need a pause and still be loving. The director touched the towel once more. The cotton gave under the fingers. It did not remember the missed fold as a mistake. It only carried warmth, use, water, hands, the small history of being kneaded and washed and kneaded again. It was simple enough to tell the truth without saying anything. Care was here. Even unfinished. The director did not fold it yet. The towel remained across the chair, one corner hanging lower than the other, easy to reach later. The phone stayed face down on the counter. In the next room, the child's voice came again, softer this time, and the director answered. Then there was walking. There was the turn toward the sound of family. There was the refrigerator humming behind it all, steady and plain, keeping its small promise in the background. The towel stayed where it was. Half folded. Blessed by being allowed to wait. Later, the towel was still there. Not forgotten in a careless way. Just waiting across the chair, with one fold held and one side loose, while the evening moved around it. The phone stayed face down for longer than expected. A few messages waited under the glass. They did not vanish. They simply waited. In the kitchen, the refrigerator kept humming. The director stood near the doorway, listening to the small life of the house, a drawer closing, water running, a child shifting in the next room. Nothing was finished. Nothing was perfectly quiet. But the room had made space for a tired body to arrive without explaining itself. The towel would be folded later. Or maybe it would not. For now, it rested there, soft and unfinished, holding its small blessing in plain sight. Care was still care. Even when the hands had stopped halfway.